People will hurt you. Not because you deserve it, but because everyone you meet is carrying something they haven't healed. The mistake we make is believing their behavior is a reflection of our worth. It's not. It's a reflection of their character, their pain, and their limitations. When someone hurts you, the first thing you must do is stop asking why. Why keeps you stuck? Why keeps you reliving the wound? Healing begins when you shift from why did they do this to me to what does this teach me about me? When someone hurts you, the first place your mind goes is inward. You start questioning yourself. You replay conversations, moments, decisions. You wonder what you did wrong, what you should have said differently, how you could have been better, so the pain might have been avoided. This is a natural response, but it is also where the damage deepens. Because the truth is, being hurt is not proof that you are weak, careless, or unlovable. It is proof that you encountered someone who had not done the inner work required to treat another human being with care. People act from who they are, not from who you are. Their choices come from their emotional maturity, their values, and the wounds they refuse to heal. When someone lies, betrays, disrespects, or abandons you, that behavior is not created by your worth. It is created by their lack of integrity, their fear of accountability, or their inability to show up honestly. No amount of love, patience, or sacrifice from you can turn an unhealed person into a safe one. Understanding this is the first step in releasing self-blame. So many people confuse kindness with weakness. They think that because they gave chances, trusted deeply, or loved sincerely, they somehow invited the pain. But loving fully is not a flaw. Trusting is not foolish. Having a good heart in a world where some people operate from ego, insecurity, or selfishness does not make you naive. It makes you human. The problem was never that you cared too much. The problem was that someone took advantage of care they did not know how to return. When someone hurts you, it often exposes what they are running from within themselves. A person who cheats is not searching for something you lacked. They are escaping something inside themselves. A person who disrespects you is not responding to your value. They are acting from their inability to respect themselves or others. A person who walks away without explanation is not proving you were unworthy of clarity. They are revealing their fear of responsibility. Painful as it is, their behavior tells a story about their inner world, not your worth. The danger comes when you internalize their actions as a verdict on who you are. That is how self-doubt grows. You begin shrinking, over-explaining, over-giving, and lowering your standards, hoping that next time you will be chosen differently. But the truth is, the right people do not require you to abandon yourself to keep them. The right people do not wound you and then blame you for bleeding. If someone could hurt you without remorse, it does not mean you were too much. It means they were not enough for the level of love you offered. Healing requires a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" you begin asking, "What kind of person would treat someone this way?" This is not about becoming bitter or judgmental. It is about becoming honest. Accountability belongs where the action occurred. You can reflect, learn, and grow without carrying shame that was never yours to hold. Growth does not mean taking responsibility for someone else's lack of character. As you begin to understand this, something powerful happens. You stop begging for validation from people who were never qualified to give it. You stop trying to prove your worth to someone who benefited from doubting it. You realize that being hurt does not make you broken, it makes you aware. Awareness is what sharpens discernment and strengthens boundaries. It teaches you how to recognize effort, respect, and emotional safety the next time around. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you truly accept that their actions reflect them, not you. You no longer chase explanations. You no longer need them to admit wrongdoing for you to move forward. You take your lessons, your dignity, and your heart, and you choose environments where those things are protected. You understand that your value was never created by how someone treated you, and it cannot be destroyed by their failure to love you properly. Being hurt does not define you. Staying stuck in self-blame does. When you release the belief that pain equals unworthiness, you reclaim your power. You remember who you were before someone made you doubt yourself. And from that place, you don't harden your heart, you strengthen it. You love again, but with wisdom. You trust again, but with standards. And most importantly, you stop allowing someone else's unresolved pain to determine how you see yourself. One of the hardest truths to accept in life is that not everyone who enters your world is meant to stay. We grow up believing that if we love hard enough, try long enough, or sacrifice deeply enough, people will choose us and remain. But life doesn't work that way. Some people arrive not to build a future with you, but to reveal something within you that needs strengthening. They come as lessons, not promises, and understanding this can save you years of emotional pain. When someone hurts you, the instinct is to hold on tighter. You replay memories, search for meaning, and convince yourself that walking away would make the pain meaningless. But pain is never meaningless. It is instructional. The people who wound you often do so because they collide with your boundaries, your expectations, and your self-worth. Their presence exposes where you were overgiving, overlooking red flags, or tolerating less than you deserved. They are not punishments, they are teachers, even when the lesson is painful. Some people teach you the importance of boundaries by crossing them repeatedly. They show you what happens when you give access without requirements. You learn that love without limits turns into self-abandonment. Others teach you standards by failing to meet them. You realize that consistency, respect, and emotional safety are not optional extras, they are necessities. And some people teach you self-respect by forcing you to choose yourself when staying would mean betraying who you are. These lessons often arrive wrapped in disappointment because growth rarely comes gently. The mistake many people make is trying to turn a lesson into a lifetime. They keep explaining, forgiving, and hoping that the person will become someone different. But not everyone has the capacity to grow with you. Some people are only equipped to meet you at a certain level, and when you outgrow that level, friction begins. Their inability to rise does not mean you should shrink. It means the season has changed. Letting go does not mean the connection was fake. It means it was finite. There was truth in the laughter, the love, and the memories, but there was also an expiration date. People can be good to you and still not be good for you long term. They can care and still be incapable of consistency. Accepting this does not make you cold. It makes you honest about what your life requires next. As you mature emotionally, you begin to value alignment over attachment. You stop clinging to potential and start paying attention to patterns. You recognize that someone repeatedly hurting you is not a misunderstanding, it is information. You learn that staying in spaces where you must constantly explain your worth is more damaging than the pain of leaving. Walking away becomes an act of self-respect, not abandonment. There is also grief in this realization. You grieve the future you imagined, the version of them you hoped would show up, and the effort you invested. But grief is not a sign you made the wrong choice. It is a sign you cared. Healing means honoring the lesson without reopening the wound. It means saying thank you for what was learned and releasing what can no longer grow with you. When you understand that some people are lessons, you stop chasing closure from them. The lesson itself is the closure. You see more clearly now. Your standards are higher, your boundaries firmer, and your self-respect stronger. You no longer confuse intensity with intimacy or attachment with love. You choose relationships that add peace, not confusion, and effort that feels mutual, not forced. Not everyone is meant to stay, and that is not a loss. It is life's way of refining you. The people who hurt you were not sent to break you, they were sent to wake you up. Once you learn what they came to teach, you are free to move forward lighter, wiser, and more rooted in who you are. And the people meant to stay will recognize your value without needing a lesson to do so. When someone hurts you, the urge to speak is overwhelming. You want to explain how deeply they wounded you, to make them understand the damage they caused, to hear them finally say the right words that might ease the pain. Silence feels unnatural in those moments, almost like surrender. But silence, when chosen intentionally, is not weakness. It is self-protection. It is the moment you stop bleeding out loud and start healing quietly. Many people wait for closure as if it is something another person must hand to them. They believe a final conversation, an apology, or an explanation will bring peace. But closure rarely comes from the one who caused the hurt. Someone who was able to harm you once may not suddenly gain the emotional maturity to repair what they broke. Waiting for them to do so often keeps you tied to the pain, replaying it over and over, hoping for an outcome that may never arrive. Distance is not punishment, it is protection. When you step back, you give your nervous system room to breathe. You remove yourself from the environment that keeps reopening the wound. Constant contact with someone who hurt you keeps you in a cycle of reactivity where every message, silence, or tone has the power to destabilize you. Distance breaks that cycle. It gives you perspective instead of confusion, clarity instead of chaos. Silence is powerful because it redirects your energy. Instead of spending it trying to be heard by someone who already showed they were not listening, you turn inward. You begin to hear yourself again. Your intuition gets louder when the noise of explanation fades. You start noticing how much of your peace you were sacrificing just to maintain a connection that was costing you more than it was giving. Choosing silence does not mean you have nothing to say. It means you have finally realized that saying it to the wrong person is pointless. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your pain, or your healing process. Some people lost the right to your voice when they chose to misuse your vulnerability. Protecting your energy is an act of self-respect, not avoidance. Distance also teaches you something essential: how people respond when they no longer have constant access to you. Some will reflect, take responsibility, and grow. Others will react with anger, manipulation, or indifference. Either response gives you the clarity you were seeking. You don't need to chase answers when behavior provides them freely. Distance removes the fog and reveals the truth. There is guilt that often comes with stepping back, especially if you are a caring person. You worry about being misunderstood or labeled as cold. But protecting your peace will always be misunderstood by those who benefited from you having none. You are not obligated to keep hurting yourself to make someone else comfortable. Choosing peace is choosing health, and health is never something you should apologize for. Silence gives you time to heal without interference. It allows emotions to settle instead of constantly being re-triggered. In that space, you start rebuilding trust with yourself. You realize you don't need someone else to validate your pain for it to be real. You don't need their apology to move forward. Your healing is not dependent on their awareness. As time passes, you begin to feel stronger. The need to explain fades. The desire to be understood by them loses its grip. You recognize that the calm you feel in their absence is not emptiness, it is peace returning. You learn that peace is not found in winning conversations or proving points, but in walking away from what disrupts your inner balance. Silence and distance are not about shutting people out forever. They are about creating space long enough to see clearly. Sometimes that clarity leads to reconnection with new boundaries. Other times it leads to permanent separation. Both outcomes are valid if they preserve your well-being. What matters is that you chose yourself instead of staying in a place that kept hurting you. You don't need closure from the person who hurt you. Closure happens the moment you decide your peace matters more than their explanation. And in that decision, you take your power back quietly, firmly, and without regret. When someone hurts you deeply, the first instinct is often to want justice in the form of revenge. You imagine them feeling the same pain, the same confusion, the same loss. It feels fair. It feels human. But revenge keeps you emotionally tied to the very experience you are trying to escape. Healing begins the moment you realize that choosing yourself is far more powerful than trying to hurt someone back. Revenge requires you to stay focused on the person who wounded you. Your thoughts, energy, and emotions remain centered on them. Healing shifts that focus inward. It asks a different question, not how do I make them feel what I felt, but how do I make sure I never abandon myself like that again? That question leads to growth, not destruction. It leads to clarity, not chaos. True strength is not loud. It does not announce itself or seek validation. Strength is quiet decisions made daily in favor of your well-being. It is choosing boundaries instead of explanations, peace instead of arguments, and distance instead of drama. Boundaries are not walls built from anger. They are lines drawn from self-respect. They say, I know what I deserve, and I will not accept less, without needing to justify or defend that choice. Growth after pain is not about becoming hardened or unfeeling. It is about becoming aware. You begin to notice patterns you once ignored. You recognize red flags that previously felt familiar. You stop romanticizing potential and start honoring reality. This awareness protects you. It ensures that the same kind of pain does not gain access to you again, not because you are closed off, but because you are clearer. Self-elevation is one of the most misunderstood responses to being hurt. It is not about proving anything to the person who wronged you. It is not about showing them what they lost. That still centers them. Self-elevation is about aligning your life with values that support your peace. It is choosing environments, relationships, and habits that reflect who you are becoming, not who you were when you were wounded. When you choose yourself, you also release the need for external validation. You no longer need an apology to move on or acknowledgement to heal. You understand that someone's inability to treat you well does not diminish your worth. This realization is freeing. It allows you to stop waiting for closure and start creating it through your actions and choices. Boundaries become easier when you understand their purpose. They are not punishments, they are safeguards. They protect your time, energy, and emotional health. Every time you honor a boundary, you send a message to yourself that your needs matter. Over time, this builds trust within yourself. And when you trust yourself, you stop tolerating situations that require you to betray that trust. Becoming someone the same pain can never reach again does not mean you become invincible. It means you become discerning. You learn to listen to discomfort instead of dismissing it. You learn to walk away sooner instead of staying too long. You learn that love does not require suffering, and loyalty does not require self-sacrifice to the point of loss. There is a quiet dignity in choosing growth over revenge. People may never know how deeply you were hurt or how hard you worked to heal, but you will know. You will feel it in the way you respond instead of react, in the way you protect your peace, and in the way you no longer chase what cost you your self-respect. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about learning from it without letting it define you. When you choose yourself, you transform pain into wisdom. You rise not by standing over someone else's downfall, but by standing firmly in your own worth. And in that place, the same pain that once broke you can no longer reach you because you are no longer the same person who allowed it in the first place. In the end, healing is not about changing what happened to you. It's about changing how much power it has over you. The hurt you experienced was real, but it does not get to write the rest of your story. You are not defined by who failed you, walked away, or chose you carelessly. You are defined by the moment you decided to stop bleeding for people who never learned how to be gentle with your heart. Every lesson, every boundary, every step back was not a loss, it was alignment. Alignment with your worth, your peace, and your future. You learned that not everyone is meant to stay, that silence can protect you, and that choosing yourself is the bravest decision you will ever make. Growth didn't make you bitter. It made you wiser. Distance didn't make you cold. It made you clearer. As you move forward, remember this: the right people will never require you to shrink, suffer, or beg to be valued. They will meet you where respect, lives, and peace exists. And until they do, stand firmly in who you are becoming. Because once you choose healing over revenge, standards over excuses, and self-respect over attachment, the same pain will never find you again.